Hey, what's up guys, it's Tozyro here, and I just wanted to make a video dedicated to the people that just want to know a little bit more about me. So I'm just going to do 10 facts about myself, which you guys probably don't know about. Keep in mind that this is going to be a video that's going to be a lot more raw, it's going to be a lot more just kind of like, I'm going to expand on what I say, I'm not just going to briefly hover over the points. You know, I'm going to talk more in depth about myself to the people that are interested to hear it, of course. And also guys, please don't forget to like and to subscribe. It really does help out the channel a lot, you know. And if you guys also want to follow me on Instagram, that would also mean a lot to me. So firstly, where I'm from a really small town in Brazil called Boa Esperança. And it's a really, really lovely place, you know, there's like a lake surrounding it and everything. And whenever I go there, I go jet skiing with my granddad, and it's good fun, it's a really good place. The population isn't actually that big, but it's not like tiny. And I was born there on the 11th of July 2002 in the hospital there at 7:05 p.m. I think. Yeah, so I turned 17. Can't believe that I left my shirt in the way. It's not very professional, is it? Number 2, and this one kind of links back to number 1, and it's the fact that I moved to England in May. Mamãe, que ano que a gente mudou pra Inglaterra? Que ano que a gente mudou pra Inglaterra? Obrigado. So there you guys have it, 2011. It was either May or April 2011, and I was almost 9, so I was 8 and like 3/4 or something. So essentially I've almost lived half my life in Brazil and half my life in England. And it's interesting because when it comes down to language, which by the way, language is number 3, I speak more English than Portuguese, I'd say, because I know more complicated words in English. And sometimes especially when I'm talking about politics, I find myself kind of like not being able to say the correct words in Portuguese, and I have to kind of like take the English version and try to formulate what the Portuguese version would be. Because you know, obviously I learned how to read, how to count, how to write in Brazil, and all of the more basic things. But when it came down to that like higher level stuff, it was all here in England. So, but obviously I can still speak Portuguese fluently. And just adding to that, I actually speak Spanish as well. So I studied Spanish from when I was 12 up until literally this year. I've only stopped studying Spanish this year because my teacher's retiring next year and I had to drop a subject anyway. I'll get into that later. I did a little bit of French back in primary school. So from the time that I was 10 until I was about 11, we dabbled on with a little bit of French. But I just didn't really grasp the language. Bear in mind, when I moved to England, I spoke very, very little English. I knew just the tiniest little bits. I knew sorry, please, thank you, and some colours. That's essentially about it. I didn't really know much. So, you know, to be learning French along with English was just like, no. Essentially, it took me 3 months to learn English. And if you guys would like me to do a video just talking about how I learned English and you know how I managed to do that quite quickly, then just let me know in the comments. I also quite like Japanese as well, and I don't know much. I know about 50 words in Japanese, but that's something that I'd look to learn in the future. So in the future I want to like properly learn how to speak Japanese, maybe Italian as well, because I love Italy and I love the language. So yeah, so for now I got English, Portuguese and Spanish, and in the future I just want to maybe add these 2 extra languages really. Number 4, a really quick one, just basic. I weigh 72.5 kilograms. As you guys can see, I've actually put on a little bit of weight now, which is good. It's what I wanted. So I'm 74 kilograms, 163 pounds and 11.6 stone. And I'm 6'1", which is 185 centimeters or 1.85 meters, whatever you prefer. So that's just a really quick one. You know, I don't really need to talk about that one too much. Let's go right into the next one. Number 5, why is my name Tozyro? Why is the YouTube name Tozyro? Why is it not just my normal name? I'll tell you why it's Tozyro. When I was really young, when I was probably about 7, I played this game called Habbo Hotel. I don't know how many of you guys played Habbo Hotel. Write down in the comments if you played it. It was such a good game and I was essentially addicted to it, but not at that point. I briefly made an account and I called myself Tozyro, but I spelled it differently. It was Tosiro. That was kind of like the Brazilian version really, and I love that game so much. But then I stopped playing it for a while, and then I came back something like a year and a half, 2 years later, and keep in mind I'd never used the name Tozyro again since then, so it was completely out of my memory. But when I was logging back in, I literally instantly, something like flicked in my mind. I was like, oh shit, Tozyro. So I just wrote that, and I was really surprised how that just came out of nowhere, because I hadn't used that word, I hadn't like spoken about it or anything. So I kind of had like a bit of an attachment to that, really. And obviously I've modified it. I put a Z instead of an S, because in Portuguese, if you just have one S, it kind of does the Z sound, and I just put a Y because, you know, I don't know, it just looks more appropriate to have a Y instead of an I. So that's how I came up with the name. And by the way, I was addicted to Habbo. I played it 12 hours a day at one point. Number 6, what do I study? Number 6. So at the moment, I study business, politics, and psychology. As I said, I just dropped Spanish because you had to drop one, and my teacher was retiring, so I was basically forced into dropping that one. But before I studied, I also studied geography before, and I really liked that, and that was actually my best subject, geography. And for university, I plan to study either management or business studies, or just anything in the business sector, but more specifically, I'd say management. I do like managerial tasks. There was an election, and I actually got elected as the student president for my college. It's just something that I enjoy doing, you know, being in those higher ranks. So hopefully I can have a decent future with some of those things. I used to study music as well, but I found out that to me, it was something that was going to remain as a hobby. It wasn't something that I wanted to pursue as a career, because I felt like if I had to play an instrument to put food on the table, then would I really be enjoying it? But, you know, that was just me personally. My best friend actually went on studying music, and, you know, so I really do enjoy voice acting. That was something that I wanted to do for a while. And also just kind of things like, I don't know, like TV presenter, just those sorts of more extroverted things, and maybe even YouTube, who knows. I'm keeping these things on the side. I'm not putting all my eggs in this basket. You know, I'm focusing mainly on those more professional ones, and I'll see where it goes, really. But yeah. So I almost forgot to mention this. I've talked about music and business and how much I like those two things, but I actually forgot to talk about politics. And it's actually one of the options for me in the future, as a career. You know, being a member of parliament is definitely something that I'm considering. And all of this just gets so much more tempting when you've actually met the Prime Minister of the UK. You know, that's a massive achievement, and that's something that I'm very proud of. So it's almost like I have this political influence all around me. So I do feel, you know, that kind of urge really to probably go into politics. And it's something that I really enjoy and I take interest in. Okay, so I mentioned earlier about music and how I used to study it, and my best friend went on to actually study it properly after school, and that's something that I need to talk about as well. So that's number 8. So I play 2 instruments. I play the bass guitar and the drums. I started off doing drums when I was about 11 or 12, but at that point I didn't actually know about the bass. To me, it was just drums, 2 guitars, and a lead vocalist. But the bass was actually really perfect for me because the guitar didn't really appeal to me. But I wanted to do something a little bit more unique and something that would be really wanted in band, like one which is like harder to find. And if I had known about the bass, then I would have probably studied that. But either way, I really do like drums, you know. And there is a video of me playing drums as well, which I'm just going to include in the description if you guys want to watch it. Get back in there, boy. Number 9. And number 9 might seem a little bit insignificant. So let me tell you something. My favorite color is green, and my favorite color has been green for as long as I can remember. It's probably ever since I was like 3 or something, you know, watching Ben 10, watching Power Rangers, all of those things. I really love the color green. And from that, I actually learned to really like earth and nature. So, you know, in those like, in like the cartoons and stuff like Avatar: The Last Airbender, you'd have like the people that control Earth. That's something which like I really, really enjoy. Like, you know, everybody's got like their favorite superpowers and stuff, and this is kind of like all linked in. So mine's always been Earth. So much so that like I want to call my daughter Gaia, which means goddess of the earth in I don't know. And my signature actually has a little mountain in it. It's quite sad how much I like Earth, but you know, you like what you like, you know. Nobody can really like take that away from you. And if you guys know, on my profile picture, there's a little green guy. For the people that don't know him, his name is Beast Boy, and obviously he's green. So that's he was actually one of the reasons why I really liked green. And he also had a superpower, which I really enjoy, which he can shapeshift into animals. And, you know, I do. This is all kind of. This might seem a little bit messy, but this is, if you know me personally, a massive part of my personality is that I like those things. You know, I like earth, nature, animals, and green. I'm wearing a green shirt right now. I mean, I am just green. Literally. Okay, the very last point, number 10, and this kind of links to Beast Boy that I was talking about, you know, the little green guy on my profile picture who can shapeshift into animals. This is something that me and him have in common, which is to do with food. We're both vegetarians. Why did I become a vegetarian? Well, because when I lived in Brazil, you see, I used to live with a bunch of animals. Chickens, dogs, cats, bunnies, all kinds of animals. It wasn't like farm level, so we didn't have like cows and sheep and stuff like that, but we just lived with them. And I love them all, like, a lot. I remember, like, when one of the chickens died, I literally called her Cutie. Like, I loved her so much, and when she died, I buried her and I cried. It actually made me, like, really upset. So I just always had that thing on my mind, you know, whenever I'd eat meat, I wouldn't really... And by the way, before anybody gets angry at me, like, oh, Gabe, it's fun to eat meat, the food chain and stuff like that, look, I get it, mate. I'm not trying to convince you. If you want to have a talk about it, you know, message me on Instagram or something. But I'm just explaining my point of view, okay, before anybody gets angry at me. What was I saying? So if you'd asked me when that chicken died, did I have the thought of eating it? No. If you were to have suggested that to me, I would have absolutely straight out said no. I was like, why? That was my pet, you know? That was no different to my dog in my eyes. That was no different to the cat that I had. And I had this like passion for all the animals that I had and whatnot. And then, you know, I've always had these thoughts in my head. It was always a little doubt that I had in the back of my mind. And sometimes it would just keep me up at night, really, and I'll just think about it, you know. Yeah, that wasn't really pleasant, you know. I would feel a lot of guilt from it. So I just decided that it was best for me to cut me out from my diet completely, and I felt a lot better since, you know. And I've actually gained weight, which was what I was looking to do. I needed to gain weight because I was so lanky, I was so tall and skinny. But, you know, now I've managed to gain some weight, so that's pretty good, you know, to help my diet in general. And somebody's going to suggest vegan. Okay, look, if you truly care about animals, why you're not vegan? Look, listen, I get where you're coming from, and I'm not saying that you're wrong, but just in this moment in time, when I'm living with my parents, you know, when I'm not old enough to be able to provide with my own food, you know, sometimes they cook and stuff like that. I don't want to complicate things for them too much. Maybe in the future, of course, it's worth considering, but for now, I'm just going to remain as a vegetarian, really. My favourite foods are tofu curry. I really like pasta as well. And also, literally my favourite drink ever, I love this so much, is coffee, man. If you know me, I love coffee so much. I have literally a whole section on my Instagram of the story thing dedicated to coffee. That's how much I love it. And there's something about it, it's just heartwarming, it's relaxing. It just helps me to like chill out, and it's just... Shit, I'm probably addicted. Oh well. But guys, that's it. That's just 10 facts about myself, you know, really going in a lot more depth. For the people that are actually bothered about, you know, me and my life, that's just 10 things which I think that you guys will find interesting. Thank you so much for watching, and please take care. And if you haven't already given a like and subscribe, then please do so. Bye.